What's the one thing all controllers have in common, but no reviews seem to mention? That's right, garbage reliability. So I did research for over 40 different controllers so I can make this shitty tier list video. Oh, it'll be easy, just record some slop and chop it up. No, I spent days scouring internet reviews. I went through my old notes, I crossed all my I's and dotted all my T's. Fuck. Anyways, Microsoft, Sony, Nintendo, Valve, Razer, GameSir, Thrustmaster, 8BitDo, Nacon, Gullakit, custom controllers, you get the picture. All broken down into 7 tiers. We have perfect, near perfect, good, mid, below average, one step from hell, and the untouchables. Keep in mind, the issues discussed today do not affect literally every controller ever. Those "my controller works fine" comments mean pretty much nothing here. I'll link the S, A, and B tier controllers in the description for those who are looking for their next object to put a hole in the wall with. Also fired up channel memberships, and I'll be streaming today when this video goes up, but more on all of that at the end. We're gonna get right into it, so reach for that subscribe button like it's your goddamn gun. Let's do it. We're going to start with Microsoft and their heaping piles of shit, and immediately the Elite Series 2 goes straight in the bin. Double-clicking or failing bumpers, dead ABXY buttons, dead triggers, stick drift of all kinds, dead USB ports, and buggy software. The Elite Series 2 is the tech equivalent of a Solo Cup. The Series 2 core is the same shit. Do not get me started on that, I will lose my goddamn mind. Next up, the stock Xbox Series X controller, which actually does a bit better than the Elite Series 2 because it doesn't have as much going on. But it has the same shitty USB port and ABXY buttons, similar drift-prone sticks, and identical garbage bumpers. So while it is better than the Series 2, it definitely belongs below mid, so D it goes. So, Knee is next with the DualSense DualShock 4 and DualSense Edge. Many of you will be extremely shocked to hear that the DualSense and DualShock share very similar issues to the Xbox Series X controller. Double-clicking or failing action buttons and bumpers, stick drift, and dead USB ports. However, the DualSense and DualShock 4 had those problems less often than the Series X controller, at least from what I noticed, so I will bump them both up to C tier. The DualSense Edge is a little more tricky. It has swappable sticks, but they're still prone to doing the Tokyo drift. The swappable feature does make the controller more accessible to the average Joe though, as you can sidestep stick drift by forking over 20 bucks to Sony. The battery life on the Edge is also gutter trash, but that's not really a reliability fault. Due to the swappable sticks making this slightly better than the average DualSense in theory, I suppose we could throw it in B, but it's a light B. Now, the company I reserve the most hate for, Japan's very own Microsoft, Nintendo. The Switch Pro controllers are really strange in that they get stick drift like every other controller, but outside of that, there's not a lot going on. A lot of their faults actually lie in the firmware. Various connection issues, firmware-based stick drift, and while the Joy-Cons have a notorious reputation, the Switch 1 and Switch 2 controllers are a lot better off, so I will begrudgingly put this controller all the way in A tier, because it's good, but not perfect. So Valve is popular for two things. A fat bearded man, weirdly, and making really controversial controllers. Many people are diehard fans of the original Steam controller, and just as many people absolutely hate it. And a lot of that came down to usability. The original Steam controller isn't nearly as usable as the second, but this is one of the only controllers where the chance of stick drift is cut in half. Many Steam controllers from 2015 still work all these years later with consistent use, so this may be our only S tier controller. And it's literally missing a fucking stick. The Steam Controller 2 isn't on the list because it's far too new, so it's a bit difficult to judge reliability, but so far all of its issues have mostly been firmware related, not hardware related. I'll probably update a pinned comment in the future relating to the Steam Controller 2, but I reviewed the Steam Controller. Many of you have been asking why I haven't reviewed any of Razer's recent controllers, and I'll tell you why. The following issues apply to the Razer Wolverine V3 Pro, V3 Tournament Edition, 8K, and 8K Tournament Edition. Connection issues, wired and wireless, firmware mishaps, buggy software, all kinds of stick drift, failing clicky switches in the front buttons, bumpers, triggers, and action buttons, and more. There isn't a single thing on the V3 Xbox or PC controllers that works for an extended period of time. So the Wolverine V3, which represents all of those V3 and 8K controllers, goes straight to the depths of hell. And you want to know what's really weird? in a strange turn of events, the Ryzen V3 Pro, which we have over here, has had almost no reliability complaints that are super consistent, aside from the occasional stick drift with its TMR sticks. Magic. Most of the complaints, however, are about stick dead zones or latency on PS5, you know, shit Razer could fix. But it's Razer, so not only will it not get fixed, but the app that supports all these devices will be booted offline in 3 years' time. As much as I absolutely despise Razer, and I really don't like the Ryzen for a myriad of reasons, I can't deny that it's been consistently pretty good, at least in terms of reliability, so just the most unfortunate A tier. One company that's recently made revisions to their controller for reliability purposes is Flydigy with the Vader 5 Pro. The original Vader 5 had adjustable tension thumbsticks that lost tension over time, paddles that would break, and firmware issues that caused stick drift. All these issues were addressed with the V2 model. However, there have been issues. Not only are many people not receiving the V2 model when they order it, there have been variations of the V2 model. I've heard a bunch of crazy shit. Anyways, I really like Flydigy's offerings, but I don't think they've done enough to keep the Vader 5 Pro out of D tier. The Apex 5 is a much different story. It and the Apex 4 had thumbsticks with the worst defect I think I've ever seen, and it is by far one of the most consistent with photo evidence to back it up. So, yeah. Speaking of consistency, EasySMX. They have been consistently making banger controllers for the money. They are some of my favorite controllers on the market, which is why the D10, X20, and S10 all go straight into the E tier. Connection issues, firmware bugs, stick drift, bumper and trigger failure constantly, and a ton of random issues I truly don't have time to mention. I did more research for this video than I did for my dedicated video on the EasySMX controllers, which was a mistake. EasySMX has a lot to do before they get out of the E tier. Let's keep the train of trash going, right? With ZD Gaming. Now, ZD recently sent me the Ultimate Legend and the Super Legend Excellence. Jesus, fuck these names. But man, these controllers feel great. We are covering the Ultimate Legend and the O Plus Excellence today because they've been out for an extended period of time. And, wow. It's a lot like EasySMX, except people really like ZD's controllers, so they make my job really easy. They just complain a lot. Stick drift, swappable stick issues, double-clicking AVXY buttons, connection issues, buggy firmware. I heard that, like Flydigy, there's been new batches to correct a lot of these issues, especially with the sticks, but there were a lot of issues. They would have to completely remake these controllers for them to actually be good. I'm not gonna not put you with the EasySMX controllers. That said, they feel amazing, and my review on the Super Legend Excellence and the Ultimate Legend should actually be after this video, so subscribe for that. As you can see, that one's gonna be fun. All right. I've been waiting for this moment for 3 years. The Victrix Pro BFG Xbox and PlayStation controllers. Fuck these controllers. Ever since the launch of the original BFG specifically, Victrix has been one of the, consistently worst controller outlets on planet Earth. The worst software of all time, the least compatible, most buggy garbage you could possibly imagine. They all have shit connections, buggy firmware, garbage-ass patented triggers that always die. Even their anti-stick drift thumbsticks get drift all the time. Victrix, Lictrix, my balls nowadays. Go straight to the inferno. Oh my god, can you see what I see? I see Turtle Beach for the second time on this list. In fact, right after I just ranked the last Turtle Beach. You know what? No. If Turtle Beach is anything, they are consistently bad at making good products. I literally took down my video on the Stealth Ultra, which was incredibly successful, to put up a video completely shitting on it months later, which was not nearly as successful. At this rate, F is definitely going to see more action than A, S, and B combined. Or will it? Because it's time for everyone's favorite third-party Chinese controller manufacturer, GameSir. And we're going to start with the G7 Pro lineup. The base model, Zenless Zone Zero, Wu Chang, and 8K models all have different internals, but very similar issues, or should I say issue. The controllers on all G7 models have had various switches interchanged, but none of them have seemed to fix the consistent trigger failures that the G7 Pro has had. Outside of that, there are the occasional, firmware stick drift reports, but there's not really much going on with the G7. It's actually a pretty solid device. I think despite the trigger issues, the G7 actually belongs in B. The Tarantula Pro, however, Yeah, how about fucking no? I'm not gonna waste time. That controller's not even available anymore. It's just D tier. Clicky triggers, rear buttons, firmware, etc., etc. The Cyclone 2 over here is still available, and I ran some research on that. You would never guess what the problem with this is. What's the problem with all of GameStar's controllers? That's right, the clicky triggers. However, the Cyclone 2 also suffered from more connection issues and stick drift, if you can believe that. Overall, it's better than the Tarantula Pro, but not as good as the G7, so it fits squarely in C. Thrustmaster. The Pit. All of them. There's a reason I haven't revisited Thrustmaster. Their controllers are so unrealistically, cartoonishly bad that I can't even get a consistent set of issues to tell you guys about. They are that random and sporadic. The controllers are built like shit. Americans fucking suck at making controllers. The eSwap controllers swap issues like campers swap wives. Let's swap up for 8-bit dough, and their Ultimate C and Ultimate 2C controllers for Xbox and Switch. The Ultimate 2C is extremely popular, so there's a lot of data out there. What I found was that people on occasion reported connection and stick drift issues. Aside from that and a few out-of-the-box issues that kind of seemed one-off, there's not too much going on here. Props to 8-bit dough for getting themselves a coveted spot in the B category. The Ultimate C controller for Xbox has a similar set of issues, although its connection issues are persistent. It also had some drift going on, but at a far lower rate than the reported connection issues. Not as bad as the Tarantula Pro, but not as good as the 2C. I think C works for the Ultimate C, you see? Alright, now for the company who was the first to sell a Pro controller with anti-stick drift thumbsticks. Gullikit. I completely fucked this video up. I was supposed to have the ES Pro in here, and the King Kong 3 Max. That's the TT Pro and the TT Max, and that's it. Alright. Speed round. The King Kong 3 Max has a ton of issues. It would have gone in D tier, but it isn't here. Funnily enough, the TT Pro and TT Max have a bunch of issues, plus broken paddles, meaning more issues. So they also go in D tier because it's not enough extra issues for them to go in E tier. The ES Pro is labeled as frequently returned on Amazon. None of Gullikit's controllers are good, at least in terms of reliability. One of them had failing rumble motors. I've never fucking heard of some shit like that in my life. Since we're in F tier, I suppose it's time for the filthy French to enter the arena with Nacon. The French make wee controllers. They are actually piss ass. Controllers and cars, the French can't make them. The Revolution 5 Pro and Revolution X Unlimited are the pinnacle of pro controller slop. Expensive controllers with tons of features, and all of those features are plagued with issues, from the screen to the software, from the triggers to the sticks, and so much more. And the price of these controllers paired with their unreliable nature makes me want to make an entirely new category for them. Womp. Womp. While we're on the topic of expensive garbage, how about the Raikiri 2 Pro? No, they're not the Raikiri 2 Pro, the Raikiri 2, which not only had normal issues like stick drift, but also had things like RGB issues, which you would only get on an ROG device, connection and dongle problems, firmware fuck-ups, but surprisingly, the volume of issues is insanely low, at least compared to what I expected from this particular controller. So it will actually go in C. That's a good rating. And the Raikiri 2 is actually more reliable than the Raikiri Pro, the original one. So that is a huge plus. If the original one was on this list, it likely would have landed somewhere around E tier. Next up, PowerA, and we're going to start with their enhanced wireless controller for Switch. PowerA is an American company. That's right, D for drift. Drift is so insanely common for the enhanced Switch controller. I mean, really all of PowerA's controllers for all of time, actually. The wireless also likes to crash out often, so while the enhanced doesn't have a ton of different issues, it has a couple of issues that are really persistent. What about the Fusion Pro 4? Is that any better? No, it's the same stick situation as the enhanced, plus, hold on, bumpers, triggers, rear buttons, and wired connections are all added points of failure for the Fusion Pro 4. Us Americans are trash. E tier. Back to China we go with the PXN P5 8K. The PXN perfectly describes most controllers under 30 bucks. Really enticing, but in reality, complete shit. The performance is nice when it works, but even with the limited amount of customer reviews that we have online, this controller has shown every weird common and uncommon issue you could possibly think of. The 8K connection is inconsistent, wired and wireless. There are also reports of dead triggers, dead bumpers, dead buttons, and with such a small sample size compared to other controllers that are comparatively much better, it kind of shows that the PXN P5 8K is actually probably worse than we're anticipating, than at least what the data shows. So it's F tier, and realistically, it probably should have its own tier below this. I hate to do it to such a budget-friendly option, but you give me no choice. All right, now on to a company I have to cover soon, actually. Mojang, or Big Juan, or Big Black Cock. And I know, they just released the Storm. I have a Storm, but it's too early to call reliability on that. The Rainbow 3 RGBTQIA Plus, however, has been out for a little while. And it's interesting because for the most part, there are not many reported hardware issues. What the Rainbow does have is a lot of reports of being bricked, buggy software, and garbage firmware updates. The key takeaway here is that Mojang, or Big Juan, whatever the hell they're called, they have a software problem. But with the good hardware kind of balancing things out, I think the Rainbow could slide its way up to bricked controllers, D tier. All right, we'll give you guys a layup. The Blitz 2 is a much better controller. It's had some things with stick drift, but for the most part, it's fine. So you get to go in C tier. There you go, Big John. You got yourself a C tier. The last category, are you ready, kids? I have been sitting in this heat for 50 minutes. Custom controllers are custom, they're born on a website, they're really expensive, they take forever to get there, they have shit warranties. So let's get through this company by company, starting with AIM, who are famous for their broken paddles, but they are less famous for their stick drift issues, their dead triggers, and dead bumpers on PS5 models specifically. Issues usually come down to their installed parts, and if you don't fork out the extra cash for a warranty when you buy it, you are going to be up shit's creek without a paddle, or without the paddles on the back of your controller. Expensive and imperfect, you, my dear, are common, D tier. On second thought, I have a bunch of notes written down about this, but really think this probably belongs in E tier realistically. I don't want to do that to AIM, but I kind of think they belong there. Battle Beaver Customs does surprisingly better. They do get stick drift and dying clicky switches. Sometimes the material quality is the best and things don't fit together properly or something like that. But overall, for how many controllers Battle Beaver has sold, I expected to see a lot more issues. Like a lot more issues. So I really hate to do this to a company that's like really, really expensive, but I think that's gonna go B tier. Hex, on the other hand, is a much more cost-effective option. I absolutely love their Phantom DualSense controller, but it features the stock DualSense bumpers and action buttons, which we've previously discussed have issues. There's also the same USB port. There's also the odd report of drift here and there, even on Hall effect models. And the clicky triggers have had problems too. While I was originally hovering around C tier for Hex, Extreme Rate products just aren't the best. It's gonna have to go in D tier. Hyper is the budget friendliest option available for custom controllers, and by extension, they make the goddamn worst. Their controllers have had a plethora of issues over the years, from stick drift to paddles breaking, bumper and trigger issues, face button issues. While I enjoy using Hyper's controllers, I can't deny that they are just way too problematic. And last, but certainly not least, Scuff. You motherfuckers will not leave me alone about this new Scuff Omega controller. It is literally the Scuff Envision Pro again. I know I reviewed the Envision Pro and enjoyed the Envision Pro. That was when it first came out. A year later, it was proven to be one of the worst controllers in terms of reliability of all time. Scuff has not made a single reliable controller. Not to mention, not a single one of their controllers is worth it over the competition when you look at that price. For the love of God, when I say it this time, I mean it. I am not reviewing a Scuff controller. I make negative reviews of controllers all the time and people still hit the links in the description and buy those goddamn things. I am not having that happen with a Scuff. All right, I am happy with this list. As you guys can obviously see, there is a bit of a balance towards one end of the list because most controllers have some type of long-term reliability issue. Most of why this list is this way has to do with stick drift and firmware issues. They aren't like keyboards and mice in the slightest. They are complete garbage nowadays, and they will continue to feed us slop if we continue to buy slop. So if you want any of the SAB, and fuck it, I'll throw the C tier in there too, because those are alright. All of those will be in the description. Everything else gets excluded. I've also decided to take on channel memberships for those who don't vibe with Patreon. And since patrons get exclusive live streams and channel members don't, the prices have been adjusted accordingly. It's not exactly 1/4, it's the math's off. YouTube won't let me do decimals, it doesn't matter. There's the Ultramax Pro tier where you get 12 to 24 hour early access to videos, a credit at the end of each video, and behind the scenes member post. The Ultramax Pro Plus tier gets an extended shout out at the end of each video, and that's really just a way that you could support the channel more if you see fit or whatever. Either way, I appreciate all you guys. I appreciate you guys who are just watching. And regardless of how any of these endeavors go, I look to continue providing you guys with the same amount of content. Even more, actually. There will be a second... That's not the microphone. There will be a second channel once I hit 100K. So subscribe. And check out the Discord, the Instagram, the Twitter, yada, 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 yada. Let me know what content you guys would like to see next. Let me know what tier list you'd like to see next. And I hope to see you guys in the review of the ZD Ultimate Legend and Super Legend Excellence. No, those names are just no. I love you guys. Peace out.